The emergency broadcast filled every speaker in the Galactic Council chamber. Ambassador Velthar stood at the center platform, his crystalline body flickering with colors that showed his fear. He did not need to explain those colors. Every species in the room understood what they meant. His voice came through the translation devices. It shook with emotion that crossed all language barriers. The Centauri people were dying. Their colonies burned. Their ships fell from the sky in pieces. The Vraxian horde had come to their space, and they came to destroy everything. Velthar had sent messages to his allies 3 days ago. The defense treaties said those allies would come to help. They promised to send ships and soldiers. They promised the Centauri would never stand alone. But 3 days passed and no ships came. No messages arrived. The allies stayed silent while Centauri children screamed. In the back row of the massive chamber, Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison sat next to his commanding officer. Captain Lisa Grant wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. Jake watched the alien ambassador and felt something twist in his chest. He had met Centauri families during his assignment here. He shared meals with them. He listened to their music that sounded like wind moving through crystal caves. Lisa leaned close to Jake and whispered. Her voice was quiet but hard. The Centauri aren't coming. Neither are the Phobians. They're going to let the Centauri die alone. Jake clenched his fists. That's murder. They signed treaties. They made promises. Promises are just words when people get scared, Lisa said. She looked angry, but she also looked sad. The other species think if they stay quiet, maybe the Vraxians will stop with the Centauri. Maybe the Horde won't come for them next. Velthar continued speaking. His body grew dimmer with each word. Jake had learned that dimming meant sadness for the Centauri people. It meant losing hope. We ask the Council for help. We invoke the ancient laws. Any civilization that helps us now will have our gratitude forever. We will give them trade benefits for 5 generations. We will share our technology. We will give anything, please. Our children are dying. The chamber filled with quiet sounds. Different species made different noises, but nobody stood up. Nobody offered help. The Vraxian horde had destroyed 17 civilizations in the last 100 years. Everyone knew their reputation. They did not negotiate. They did not show mercy. They took everything and left nothing behind. Jake looked around the chamber. He saw aliens looking at their feet. He saw them checking their communication devices. He saw them pretending they did not hear the desperate plea. His hands shook with anger. Captain, we need to do something, Jake said. We're just observers. Earth doesn't even have voting rights yet. We're too new to this council. Then maybe being new means we still remember how to care when someone asks for help. Lisa turned to look at Jake. She studied his face for a long moment. Then she pulled out her secure communication device. Get me Admiral Peterson. Use emergency priority codes. While Jake worked on the connection, Velthar made one more attempt. His voice broke as he spoke. The translators could not hide his pain. We do not ask for much. Send even one ship. Show us that the galaxy has not forgotten mercy. Show us that civilization means something more than empty words, please. Silence answered him. It was the kind of silence that killed hope. Then Lisa stood up. Every eye in the chamber turned toward the human section. Most looked curious. Some looked dismissive. Humans were barely known in galactic politics. Earth had discovered faster than light travel only 30 years ago. Many species still thought humans were primitive. Ambassador Velthar, Lisa called out. Her voice carried across the huge chamber. The Terran Federation hears your plea. I have authorization from Earth Fleet Command. Help is coming. The chamber exploded with noise. Aliens chittered and clicked and made electronic sounds that all meant disbelief. Some laughed. The idea of humans helping seemed like a joke to them. A huge delegate from the Phobian Empire stood up. He had 6 legs and mandibles that clicked when he talked. The humans? You Deathworlders from that heavy gravity planet? What could you possibly do? You have maybe 20 or 30 ships. The Vraxian horde travels in thousands. Lisa did not change her expression. Ambassador, we are sending coordinates for a meeting point near Centauri space. Our fleet will arrive there in 72 hours. I suggest you brief them on the tactical situation. Velthar's body brightened for the first time. Hope lit him from inside. You would truly risk your forces for us? We have no treaties with Earth. We are not allies. We have no formal agreements. You asked for help, Lisa said simply. That's enough. The chamber dissolved into chaos. Delegates argued with each other. Some called the humans insane. Others wondered if this was some kind of trick. Jake kept working his communication device while the noise grew louder around them. Admiral Peterson's gruff voice came through Jake's earpiece. "Grant, I hope you know what you're doing. The President just authorized full fleet deployment. Every combat-ready ship we have is being mobilized. This is not a small commitment." Lisa's face stayed calm, but Jake could see the steel in her eyes. "With respect, Admiral, the Centauri asked for help while their people are dying. If we turn our backs now, what does that say about humanity? What does that say about who we are?" A long pause followed. "You sound like my daughter. That's either very good or very bad. Either way, the fleet launches in 6 hours. Try not to start a war we can't finish." "No promises, sir." The Phobian delegate approached the human section. His massive form blocked the light. "You understand the Vraxians have crushed 17 civilizations? They don't negotiate. They don't retreat. They consume everything." Jake stood next to his captain. He looked up at the alien's multiple eyes without fear. "Then I guess it's lucky for the Centauri that humans are really good at fighting things that don't know when to quit." The Phobian made a sound that could have been laughter or disgust. "Your bravado will look stupid when your ships are debris. Humans may come from a harsh world, but you've never faced something like the Vraxian horde." Lisa smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew secrets. "Sir, with all respect, you have no idea what humans are capable of when someone asks us for help. The Vraxians are about to find out." The Phobian turned away, clearly dismissing them, but Jake saw something in the alien's expression before he left. It might have been curiosity. It might have been doubt. Or it might have been the first small spark of hope. After the chamber emptied, Lisa and Jake walked back to their quarters. The station's artificial lights made everything look cold and sterile. Jake finally spoke. "Do you really think we can win against the Vraxians?" Lisa stopped walking. She turned to face him. "Jake, I've studied military history my whole life. I've read about every major conflict Earth ever fought. You know what I learned? Humans don't win because we're the strongest. We don't win because we have the best technology. We win because when someone needs help, we show up. And when we show up, we bring everything we have." That's not really an answer. No, it's not. But here's what I know for sure. The Vraxians have spent decades fighting species that see violence as a last resort. They've fought civilizations that evolved on gentle worlds where survival was easy. They've never fought someone from Earth. They've never faced a species that had to fight for survival every single day for millions of years. Jake thought about that. He thought about Earth's history. The ice ages, the plagues, the predators, the wars. Humanity survived all of it. So we're going to show them what Deathworlders can do. We're going to show the entire galaxy what it means when humans make a promise. Lisa corrected. The Centauri asked for help. We said yes. Now we have to make good on that promise no matter what it costs. They continued walking. Behind them, the council chamber stood empty. But the words spoken there would spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. The humans were coming. The Deathworlders from Earth had heard the distress call and they were bringing their fleet. In his quarters on the station, Velthar sat alone. His crystalline body still flickered with cautious hope. He had sent the coordinates to his people. He told them help was coming. But he also knew the odds. Humanity was one small species against the Vraxian horde. It seemed impossible. Yet something in the human captain's voice made him believe. Something in her eyes said she meant every word. The humans were coming. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. The news spread through the station within hours. Earth was mobilizing its fleet. The humans were really going to help the Centauri. Most species thought it was suicide. A few thought it was noble. Almost everyone agreed it would end badly for the humans. But as Lisa Grant lay in her bunk that night, she did not think about odds or outcomes. She thought about the Centauri children she had met. She thought about their families. She thought about what it meant to be human in a galaxy that had forgotten how to care. Tomorrow, Earth's fleet would launch. Tomorrow, they would find out if humanity's way of doing things could work on a galactic scale. Tomorrow, the Vraxians would learn that not everyone runs when they attack. Tomorrow, the Deathworlders would answer the call for help. Commander Yelshara worked the night shift at the Centauri monitoring station. It was a quiet job most nights. Ships came and went. Traders passed through. Nothing exciting ever happened at the edge of Centauri space. Then every alarm in the station started screaming at once. Yelshara jumped from his rest position. His crystalline body flared bright yellow with surprise. His tactical officer was making distressed sounds and pointing at the sensor display. "Commander, you need to see this. Multiple contacts emerging from faster-than-light travel. I cannot count them all. There are too many." Yelshara rushed to the tactical station. What he saw made his internal temperature drop. The sensors showed dozens of ships, then hundreds. They kept appearing one after another, materializing from nothing like angry gods stepping into reality. "Get me classifications on those vessels," Yelshara ordered. His voice shook despite trying to stay calm. The tactical officer worked his controls frantically, reading multiple ship classes. "Their largest vessels are massive, Commander. Almost as big as Centauri dreadnoughts, and they are fast. These acceleration curves should not be possible for ships this size." The main view screen showed the human fleet. At the center floated a ship so large it made everything around it look small. Weapons covered its hull, strange weapons that did not match anything in the galactic databases. Bold letters marked its bow. The translation system rendered them in Centauri script as UES Defiance. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer said. "Human frequencies. Standard galactic protocol. Put it on screen." A human female appeared on the display. She wore a dark uniform with insignia that Yelshara did not recognize. Her hair was pulled back tight. Her eyes looked calm but also hard, like someone who had seen terrible things and learned to face them without fear. "Centauri Station, this is Admiral Patricia Hayes of the United Earth Space Command. I command the 1st Expeditionary Fleet. We received your distress call. We are here to help." Yelshara found his voice, though it took effort. "Admiral Hayes, we were not expecting such a large force. The Council told us humans had limited military capabilities." The Admiral's mouth curved in what humans called a smile, but this smile had sharp edges. "The Council knows what we choose to tell them, Commander. May I ask your name?" "Commander Yelshara, Admiral. I coordinate defense operations for this sector." "Good. I need tactical data on every Vraxian incursion in the last month. Every ship class they deployed. Every defensive position you still hold. Can you provide that?" "Yes, Admiral, but I must warn you. The Vraxian horde does not fight like other species. They fight with savagery that—" "Commander?" the Admiral interrupted gently. "I appreciate the warning. But humans invented savagery. We just usually keep it pointed at things that deserve it. Now about that data?" Yelshara transmitted the files. His mind still could not process what he was seeing. Over 200 human warships. How did a species so new to space travel build such a fleet? "Admiral, may I ask about those weapons on your ships? Our sensors cannot classify them. That's because they do not match anything in your databases. We have railguns, plasma accelerators, nuclear-tipped torpedoes, and a few surprises we prefer to keep secret. We come from a world where everything tried to kill us for millions of years, Commander. We learned to return the favor." A voice spoke from off-screen. "Admiral, scouts report 3 Vraxian cruiser groups converging on the colony at Kelvar Prime. Estimated time of arrival is 4 hours." Admiral Hayes nodded. "Commander Yelshara, I am dispatching Battle Group 7 to intercept. I want your people to observe and record everything. The galaxy should see what happens when someone attacks people under human protection." "Under human protection? Admiral, we are not officially—" "You asked for help, Commander. You have it. That makes you under our protection until this is over. Now I suggest you contact Ambassador Velthar and tell him the Terran Federation keeps its promises." The transmission ended. Yelshara stood in silence. He watched as a portion of the human fleet broke away and accelerated toward Kelvar Prime. They moved at speeds that should have torn the ships apart from stress. But they held together perfectly, moving with coordination that spoke of endless training. "Should we inform the Council?" his tactical officer asked quietly. Yelshara thought about it. "Yes. Tell them the humans have arrived. Tell them everything, and make sure they understand that the balance of power in this galaxy just shifted." On board the UES Defiance, Admiral Patricia Hayes stood on the bridge. Holographic displays surrounded her, showing the entire area of operations. Her second-in-command, Captain Ben Porter, stood beside her. "Do you think the Council will try to interfere?" Ben asked. "Let them try," Patricia replied. "We are not here for Council approval. We are here because people were dying and nobody else had the courage to help. Besides, once we finish with the Vraxians, the Council will be too busy rewriting their threat assessments to complain." "You think we can beat them?" The Vraxians have been terrorizing this part of space for decades. Patricia turned to look at the tactical display. It showed the battle group heading toward Kelvar Prime. Ben, the Vraxians are used to fighting civilizations that evolved on peaceful worlds, species that see violence as a last resort. They have never fought someone from Earth. They have never faced a species that had to fight for survival every single day of their evolution. She tapped a command. The display zoomed to show Kelvar Prime. Centauri civilians were evacuating in whatever ships they could find. Vraxian vessels appeared at the edge of the system, dark and threatening. The Vraxians are about to learn something important, Patricia continued. When you ask humans for help, we don't send peacekeepers. We send warriors, and we don't stop until the job is done. Captain Porter smiled. So we're making an example. We are making a statement, Ben. By the time we finish at Kelvar Prime, every species in the galaxy will understand one fact. You can ignore a distress call if you want. You can play politics while people die. But humans, we show up, and when we do, we bring everything we have. The view screen showed Battle Group 7 dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kelvar system. 23 human warships appeared suddenly. Each one carried weapons that had been developed through centuries of human warfare. They faced 40 Vraxian cruisers. The Vraxians did not bother with communication. Their confidence came from decades of easy victories. They simply opened fire. Energy weapons lanced across empty space, bright and deadly. The human ships scattered like fish avoiding a predator. They moved with fluid grace that seemed impossible for vessels so large. Then they returned fire. The galaxy was about to learn that when Deathworlders go to war, they do not fight fair. They fight to win. Captain Kyle Rogers commanded the UES Ranger. He watched the Vraxian formation approach with obvious contempt. The alien vessels moved in tight groups, overlapping their shields in a defensive pattern. That formation probably worked well against every other species they fought. Unfortunately for them, humans were not like other species. All ships, this is Ranger. Kyle broadcast. Weapons free. Show them what happens when they attack our friends. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell, armed the weapon systems. Targeting solutions locked on the lead group. Their shields are strong, but overlapping creates interference patterns we can exploit. Good thinking. Do it. The Vraxian vessels fired first. Brilliant beams of energy that could vaporize most ships in seconds shot across space. But the human vessels were not where the Vraxian computers predicted they would be. They dodged and weaved, pulling maneuvers that would have crushed any other species under the acceleration forces. Their weapons are energy-based, Kyle observed calmly. They travel at light speed, but their targeting systems predict where we will be. They guess our movements. Good thing we learned to fight in atmospheres, Sarah replied. Returning fire now. The UES Ranger shuddered as its main railgun fired. A tungsten rod, accelerated to a huge fraction of light speed, crossed the distance to the lead Vraxian cruiser in less than a second. The Vraxian shields were designed to disperse energy weapons. They barely noticed the solid projectile before it punched through and kept going, drilling through the ship's hull and out the other side. Air vented into space. The Vraxian cruiser began tumbling. Secondary explosions rippled across its surface. What did we just hit them with? A voice asked over the communication channel. It was Captain Amy Foster from the U.S. Valiant. Physics, Kyle replied. Their shields handle energy weapons. Turns out a big chunk of metal moving really fast does not care about shield frequencies. All ships switch to kinetic weapons. Let's see how many holes we can make. The battle group spread out. Each ship now fired solid projectiles instead of energy beams. The Vraxians tried to adapt. Their formation tightened for mutual support. But human ships did not fight the way galactic species fought. Where other civilizations valued honor and symmetry, humans valued one thing above all else: winning. The UES Striker dove beneath the battle plane and fired missiles. These missiles did not follow simple paths. They curved and weaved, adjusting their course based on real-time data from their onboard computers. They are trying to intercept, Commander Nathan Blake's tactical officer reported. They can try. The Galactic Council called an emergency session 18 hours after the Battle of Kelvar Prime. The chamber erupted into chaos before the meeting even started properly. Delegates shouted and made angry sounds in dozens of different languages. High Counselor Thax of the Phobian Empire waved his multiple limbs in agitation. His mandibles clicked rapidly. They violated every principle of civilized warfare. Boarding actions? Point-blank engagements? Playing primitive audio during combat? This is barbarism. Admiral Patricia Hayes sat in the human delegation section. Her face stayed calm despite hundreds of hostile stares from various species. Captain Lisa Grant sat beside her, equally composed. "High Counselor," Patricia said, her voice cutting through the noise without being loud. "With respect, we were invited to provide military assistance to the Centauri. We provided it. The Vraxian attack was stopped. Centauri casualties were minimal. Our losses were acceptable. I fail to see the problem." A delegate from the Centauri sovereignty stood up. His species followed rigid military protocols. The translation device made his voice sound flat and emotionless. "The problem, Admiral, is that your tactics are unpredictable. Warfare has rules and conventions that prevent unnecessary escalation. You ignored all of them." "Did we?" Lisa interjected. "Because I recall that your conventions involve politely declining to help when allies are being slaughtered. Tell me, Counselor, which is more barbaric? Fighting aggressively to protect lives, or watching people die because you are too afraid to break tradition?" The Centauri delegate's skin color shifted to angry purple. "You know nothing of galactic politics. The Vraxian situation is complex and requires careful consideration of multiple factors." "The Vraxian situation is simple," Patricia interrupted. "They are bullies who got used to nobody fighting back. We fought back, they lost. Now they know humans are a hard target. That is not complicated. That is natural selection." Ambassador Velthar rose from his seat. His crystalline form shimmered with determination. "If I may speak, the humans saved 17 million Centauri lives at Kelvar Prime. 17 million. While this council debated and formed committees to study the situation, human ships were bleeding to protect people they had never met. I submit that perhaps we need less civilization and more humanity." The chamber fell silent. Even the loudest critics seemed speechless. Then a new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. It was raspy and old. The translation struggled with it. "The Krell were an ancient race, one of the first to achieve faster-than-light travel. They rarely attended council sessions." Elder Krellix moved slowly to the speaker's platform. His ancient form needed technological support just to move. "I have observed this council for 300 of your standard years," he began. "In that time, I have watched civilizations rise and fall. I have seen courage and cowardice, wisdom and foolishness." He paused. His multiple eyes swept across the assembled delegates. "But I have never in all my years seen what I witnessed in the recordings from Kelvar Prime. Do you know what I saw? I saw a species that understands something we forgot. That there are moments when civilization must defend itself with uncivilized ferocity, or it will cease to be civilized at all. Elder, surely you do not condone their brutal tactics?" High Counselor Thax protested. "Condone?" Krellix's laugh sounded like grinding stones. "I celebrate them. The humans did in hours what we failed to do in decades. They made the Vraxians afraid. And fear, Counselor, is something our enemies have not felt in far too long." Admiral Hayes bowed her head respectfully to the elder. "We did not come here to upset the galactic order. We came because people needed help and we had the means to provide it. That is all. That is all." Another delegate spoke up. This one was from a species humanity had never encountered before. "You have changed everything. Vraxian long-range communications have been broadcasting warnings about human ships. They call you the Death Spawn and the Void Demons. You have done more to damage Vraxian expansion in one battle than the combined council fleets have done in a century." Patricia exchanged a glance with Lisa. "Are they retreating from their forward positions?" "According to our intelligence," the delegate replied, "they are consolidating their forces. Abandoning forward positions, they are afraid of you." A smile touched Patricia's lips. "Good. Fear is a language bullies understand very well." High Counselor Thax slammed his appendage on his console. The sound echoed through the chamber. "This is exactly the problem. You are not thinking about long-term consequences. What happens when the Vraxians regroup? What happens when they come back with greater numbers seeking revenge? Then we will be ready," Patricia said simply. "And more importantly, we will teach anyone who wants to learn how to be ready too. The Centauri asked for our help. We are not leaving until the job is finished, and the job is not finished until the Vraxian threat to this region is eliminated." Lisa stood beside her admiral. "The Terran Federation is prepared to offer military training to any council member who requests it. We can show you how to fight like we fight, how to think like we think. Because here is the truth, counselors. Humanity did not survive to reach the stars by being polite. We survived by being stubborn, adaptable, and really good at violence when violence was necessary. This is unprecedented, the Zentari delegate protested. The Council has never sanctioned such aggressive military cooperation. Then maybe it is time for something new, said a voice from the middle of the chamber. It was the delegate from the Orion Collective, a minor power that had been silent until now. My government has authorized me to formally request Terran military advisors. We border Vraxian space. If the humans can teach us even a fraction of their tactical doctrine, we have a chance to survive the next incursion. Another delegate stood up quickly. The Rigel Commonwealth also requests human military assistance. Then another voice joined in. The Deneb Alliance would like to discuss terms for training programs. Within minutes, 17 different civilizations requested Earth's help in one form or another. Patricia Hayes watched the requests pile up with mixed feelings. This was what Fleet Command hoped for, but it was also a huge responsibility. High Counselor Thax looked around the chamber with barely hidden horror. This is madness. You are militarizing the entire sector. No, Elder Krellix corrected gently. The humans are teaching us to defend ourselves. There is a difference. We have been so concerned with maintaining peace through diplomacy that we forgot the oldest truth of survival. If you want peace, prepare for war. The Elder speaks truth, Ambassador Velthar added. For too long, we relied on the assumption that our enemies would respect the same rules we do. The Vraxians taught us how wrong that assumption was. The humans taught us there is an alternative to simply accepting our fate. Patricia stood at her full height. Counselors, Earth did not come here to conquer or dominate. We came because someone asked for help and we could not look away. But if the galaxy wants to learn from us, we are willing to teach. Just understand what you are asking for. Human military doctrine is not gentle. It is not elegant. It is effective, and it is built on 10,000 years of warfare. What are you saying, Admiral? A delegate asked nervously. I am saying that if you want to learn how humans fight, you need to understand why we fight the way we do. We fight to win because on Earth, second place means extinction. We do not have the luxury of your civilized conventions because those conventions would have gotten us all killed long before we ever reached the stars. Lisa added her voice. But we also fight to protect. Humans have a saying, I am my brother's keeper. When someone asks us for help, we show up. That is not going to change regardless of what this council decides. The session continued for hours. The debate shifted from whether to accept human help to how best to coordinate it. The momentum had changed. The galaxy had seen what humans could do. More importantly, they saw what humans would do when asked. When the session finally ended, Elder Krellix approached the human delegation. His movements were slow but deliberate. Admiral Hayes, may I speak with you? Of course, Elder. The ancient being studied her with eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall. You have done something remarkable. You have given the galaxy hope. But I must warn you, hope is dangerous. It makes people expect miracles. Can your people deliver on these expectations? Patricia considered the question carefully. Elder, humanity has faced extinction more times than I can count. We survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and our own worst impulses. We are still here because when things get tough, we do not quit. We adapt, we overcome, and we help each other survive. Even those who are not human, especially those who are not human, because that proves we earned our place among the stars. Not our weapons or our tactics, but our willingness to stand up when someone needs us, regardless of whether it benefits us directly. Krellix was silent for a long moment. Then he made a gesture his species used to show profound respect. Then perhaps there is hope for this galaxy after all. Go, Admiral. Train those who would learn. Protect those who need protection. And show us all what it means to be human. As the human delegation left the council chambers, they passed groups of alien diplomats. Some argued. Some planned. Some celebrated. The galaxy was changing, and humanity stood at the 3 months passed since the Battle of Kelvar Prime. The Centauri system looked completely different now. Where vulnerable colonies once stood protected only by token defense forces, now proper fortifications guarded every approach. Early warning networks covered the entire region. Most importantly, warships crewed by trained Centauri, personnel patrolled the borders. Commander Yelshara stood on the bridge of the Centauri, defense ship Crystal Dawn. He watched his crew run combat, drills with efficiency, that would have been impossible before the humans arrived. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Krenna, coordinated firing solutions with precision that came from endless hours of training under human instructors. "Contact bearing 27 Mark III, Krenna called out calmly. "Vraxian frigate attempting to scout our positions." "Set intercept course," Yelshara ordered. "Let us show them what we learned." The Crystal Dawn accelerated smoothly. Its new engines pushed the ship to speeds its original designers never imagined possible. Human engineers explained it patiently during the retrofit. Centauri ships were over-engineered for safety, which was admirable. But in combat, a ship needed to be dangerous, not just comfortable. The Vraxian frigate detected them and tried to flee. But the Crystal Dawn was faster now. Much faster. Yelshara's crew executed a perfect intercept, bringing them within weapons range in minutes instead of hours. "Their shields are up," Krenna reported professionally. "Energy signature matches standard Vraxian defensive configuration." Yelshara allowed himself a small smile. He remembered his human instructor's words. Captain Kyle Rogers had been very clear about this. Shields were just another problem to solve, not an impenetrable barrier. "Load kinetic rounds," Yelshara ordered. "Target their shield generators directly. Put some holes in their defenses." The Crystal Dawn's railguns spoke with violence that satisfied something deep in Yelshara's mind. These weapons felt right in a way energy beams never did. The Vraxian shields, optimized for dispersing energy, did almost nothing against solid projectiles moving at a significant fraction of light speed. The Vraxian frigate attempted to return fire. Its energy beams lanced through space where the Crystal Dawn had been moments before. But the Centauri ship was already moving, executing evasive maneuvers that would have made the crew sick 3 months ago. Now, with improved inertial dampeners and bodies adapted to the stress, they handled combat acceleration with determination. "Their shields are failing," Krenna announced. "They are attempting to jump to faster than light speeds." "Negative," Yelshara replied calmly. "Target their FTL drive. Disable it, do not destroy. The Admiral wants prisoners for intelligence gathering." The Crystal Dawn's weapons found their mark perfectly. The Vraxian frigate went dark, dead in space but structurally intact. Within minutes, a Centauri boarding team secured the vessel. These teams had trained in human close-quarters combat techniques. The Vraxian crew surrendered quickly. "Mission success," Yelshara reported to Fleet Command. "1 Vraxian frigate captured with minimal damage to our vessel. No casualties among our crew." From the Centauri command station, Ambassador Velthar monitored the engagement with deep satisfaction. Beside him, Admiral Patricia Hayes nodded with approval. "Your people learn quickly," Patricia observed. "We are motivated," Velthar replied. His crystalline form brightened with pride. "The Vraxians killed millions of us before you arrived. We will not forget that, but more than revenge, we want to ensure it never happens again. Your training gave us the tools. Now we use them effectively." Patricia pulled up a holographic display showing the entire sector. Red markers indicated Vraxian territory, blue showed Council space. Green represented human and allied positions. Over the past 3 months, the red had been steadily retreating, pulling back from borders it had threatened for decades. "The Vraxians are withdrawing across their entire border with Council space," Patricia said. "Our intelligence suggests they are consolidating around their core worlds. They are afraid of what we might do next." "As they should be," Velthar said firmly. "They terrorized this region for decades because nobody stood up to them. You showed us how to stand. More than that, you showed us why we should fight. Not for conquest, but for protection. For the right to exist without constant fear." Lisa Grant joined them on the observation deck. She carried a datapad filled with reports. "Admiral, latest updates from the training programs. The Orion Collective graduated their first squadron of combat pilots. The Rigel Commonwealth successfully integrated human tactical doctrine into their fleet operations. The Deneb Alliance is requesting instructors for ground combat training." "Ground combat?" Velthar asked with surprise. "The Vraxians rarely attempt planetary invasions. They prefer orbital bombardment." "True, but they are not the only threat in the galaxy," Lisa replied. "Once word spread about what humans could teach, everyone wanted to learn. We have gone from being the new species in the Council to the most requested military advisors in known space." Patricia considered this development carefully. "That is a lot of responsibility. We need to make sure we are teaching the right lessons. It is not just about how to fight. It is about when to fight and why to fight. I agree completely, said a familiar raspy voice. Elder Krelix entered the observation deck, moving more easily than he had months ago. Human medical technology helped with some of his age-related problems. It was another unexpected benefit of the growing cooperation between humans and other council species. Elder, Patricia greeted him respectfully. What brings you to Centauri space? I came to see the results of your work with my own eyes, Krelix replied. And I must say I am deeply impressed. The Centauri were pacifists by nature 3 months ago. Now they defend themselves with competence and confidence. But what impresses me most is that they have not lost their essential character. They are still the same gentle people, just no longer helpless. That is the goal, Patricia said. We are not trying to turn everyone into humans. We are trying to teach them to be the best versions of themselves. For the Centauri, that means protecting their families and their culture. For others, it might mean something different. An alert sounded through the command center. Krenaz's voice came over the communication system. Command, this is Crystal Dawn. We received a priority message from the Vraxian vessel we captured. They request to speak with Admiral Hayes directly. They say it is urgent. Patricia exchanged meaningful glances with Velthar and Lisa. Patch them through to this station. The holographic display shifted to show a Vraxian officer. His reptilian features bore scars from many battles. When he spoke, his voice carried a tone the translator struggled to render in galactic standard language. I am Battle Commander Vraxthor of the Vraxian Horde. I speak with authority from our High Command. We wish to discuss terms of engagement. The observation deck fell completely silent. Patricia kept her expression carefully neutral. Terms of what exactly? Cessation of hostilities in this sector. The humans and their allies have proven to be formidable opponents. Our losses in the past 3 months exceed our losses in the past decade. This situation is not sustainable for us. You could simply stop attacking, Lisa pointed out reasonably. That would end hostilities immediately without any need for formal negotiations. Vraxthor's expression might have been a grimace. You do not understand the Vraxian way. We are conquerors by nature and by culture. It defines who we are. But we are not foolish. You have taught us that some targets fight back too effectively to be worth the cost. We propose a non-aggression pact. We will cease all military operations in Council space. In return, you will not pursue us into our own territory. Patricia studied the Vraxian commander carefully. What guarantee do we have that you will honor this pact? Your species has a long history of breaking agreements when convenient. The same guarantee we have from you. Mutual deterrence. We now know what humans can do in combat. You have demonstrated it repeatedly and decisively. We have no desire to face your full military force. Additionally, we understand that you have been training other species. If they all fight as the Centauri now fight, further conquest in this region becomes impossible for us. Velthar stepped forward, his crystalline body flickering with mixed emotions. Why should we trust you? You have been raiding our space for generations. You have killed billions of our people across dozens of worlds. Because we are pragmatic, Vraxthor replied without emotion. The humans changed the fundamental calculation. Before their arrival, attacking Council space was profitable. The rewards outweighed the risks. Now it is suicidal. Simple economics dictate our decision. We survive by knowing when to fight and when to withdraw. Admiral Hayes turned to Elder Krelix. Elder, you have dealt with the Vraxians longer than any of us. What is your assessment of this offer? The ancient being studied the Vraxian commander through the holographic display for a long moment. He speaks truth, at least as he understands it. The Vraxians respect strength above all other qualities. You demonstrated overwhelming strength. They will honor this agreement as long as they believe attacking would cost more than it gains. That is not exactly a strong endorsement of their trustworthiness, Lisa muttered quietly. No, Krelix agreed. But it is realistic. We must remain vigilant. Continue. 6 months after the distress call that changed everything, Ambassador Velthar stood before the Galactic Council for a historic address. His crystalline body shone with pride that every species in the chamber could recognize. The great hall fell silent as he prepared to speak. Distinguished delegates, Velthar began, his voice steady and clear. I stand before you representing a species that faced total extinction. The Vraxian horde was destroying our worlds. Our traditional allies remained silent. Our defenses were inadequate against the enemy we faced. We sent out a desperate plea for help, not knowing if anyone would answer our call. He paused, allowing the weight of those dark days to settle over the assembled delegates. Many shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They remembered their silence. They remembered their fear. They remembered choosing safety over honor. The humans answered our call, Velthar continued, not because treaties compelled them, not because they expected rewards or political advantage. They answered because we asked. And in answering, they changed everything about how this galaxy operates. They showed us that civilization is not about maintaining comfortable traditions while others suffer. It is about standing together when standing alone means destruction. Velthar gestured toward the human delegation. Admiral Patricia Hayes sat there in her uniform, flanked by Captain Lisa Grant and other Earth officers. Today, I formally propose that the Terran Federation be granted full council membership, with all rights and responsibilities. They have earned this through their actions, their sacrifice, and their unwavering commitment to protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The vote began immediately. Delegates activated their voting systems. The results appeared on the main display within moments. The proposal passed with overwhelming support. Only a few species abstained, mostly those embarrassed by their earlier dismissals of human capability. Even the Phobian Empire voted in favor. Their delegate had learned humility through watching human effectiveness in combat. As the chamber erupted in approving sounds from dozens of different species, Admiral Patricia Hayes rose and walked to the speaker's platform. The noise gradually subsided as she prepared to address the council for the first time as an official member. "Thank you for this honor," Patricia began simply. "Earth accepts this responsibility with full understanding of what it means. We did not come to your galaxy seeking power or prestige. We came because the Centauri needed help, and we had the ability to provide that help. The principle was simple. Someone asks for help, and if you can help, you do." She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with delegates from dozens of worlds. "In the past 6 months, we have trained thousands of your people in human military doctrine. We have shared our technology. We have stood beside you against common threats. But the most important thing we shared was not tactics or weapons. It was a mindset. The understanding that being civilized does not mean being passive. That peace is something you build and defend, not something you hope for and wait to receive." A delegate from the Orion Collective stood, Admiral Hayes, or should I now say Counselor Hayes. "Many of us wondered why humans fight the way they do. Your tactics seem reckless to species that evolved on gentler worlds. Can you explain your philosophy of combat?" Patricia considered the question carefully. "Our philosophy comes from our history. Earth is what many of you call a death world. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous predators, deadly diseases. For millions of years, everything on our planet tried to kill us. We survived by learning to be tougher, faster, smarter, and more adaptable than the threats we faced." She activated a holographic display showing Earth. Continents and oceans rotated slowly. But we also learned something else. We learned that working together made us stronger, that protecting each other was not weakness but wisdom. That sacrifice for the group ensured survival of the individual. These lessons are coded into our DNA now. When someone needs help, we respond. It is simply who we are. Lisa Grant stood beside her admiral. "Earth has fought thousands of wars throughout our history. We have made terrible mistakes. We have caused enormous suffering. But we learned from those mistakes. We learned that the strong have a responsibility to protect the weak. We learned that turning away from suffering makes you complicit in that suffering. We learned that there are things worth fighting for, and protecting innocent lives tops that list." Elder Krelix rose slowly from his seat. The ancient being commanded respect simply through his age and wisdom. "Counselor Hayes, you have accomplished something remarkable in a very short time. You have reminded us of truths we forgot. But I must ask a difficult question. What happens when the next crisis comes? What happens when another species needs help? Will humanity always answer the call?" "Yes," Patricia replied without hesitation. "That is our commitment to this council, and to any species that asks. If you need help and we can provide it, we will. That does not mean we will solve every problem for you. Part of helping is teaching others to help themselves. But we will stand with you until you can stand alone." "That is a significant promise," Krelix observed. "Can you maintain that commitment as your responsibilities grow?" "Elder, humanity has a population of 12 billion people spread across Earth and our colonies. We have industrial capacity that we barely tap. We have millions of young people eager to serve and protect. We can meet our commitments. But more importantly, we are not alone anymore. Look around this chamber. The Centauri are training others now. The Orion Collective is sharing what they learned. The Rigel Commonwealth is building new defensive networks. Humanity started something, but it belongs to all of us now. Ambassador Velthar spoke up from his section. The Elder makes a good point. What happens when humanity faces its own crisis? Who will help Earth if you need assistance? Patricia smiled. It was a genuine smile, warm and honest. That is an excellent question, Ambassador. And I believe I already know the answer. If Earth ever sends out a distress call, I believe you will answer. All of you. Because that is what this new alliance means. We help each other. We stand together. We refuse to let any member face extinction alone. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. Species that barely knew each other 6 months ago now exchanged meaningful looks. They had trained together, fought simulations together, learned from each other's strengths and weaknesses. Something new was forming in the galaxy, something that looked like genuine unity. High Counselor Thax of the Phobian Empire requested recognition to speak. His earlier hostility toward humans had transformed into grudging respect. Counselor Hayes, I must admit I was wrong about humanity. I thought your tactics were barbaric. I thought your involvement would destabilize the region. Instead, you brought stability through strength. You taught us that peace requires the will to defend it. I apologize for my earlier dismissal of your capabilities. Apology accepted, High Counselor. Patricia replied graciously. You had no reason to trust us. We were unknown, unproven, but now we have proven ourselves. Now we are part of this council. Now we work together toward common goals. The session continued for several more hours. New defense initiatives were proposed and approved. Cooperative programs expanded. Trade agreements were formalized. The galaxy was reshaping itself around new principles. Principles that valued action over empty words. Principles that rewarded courage and punished cowardice. As the session finally concluded, Patricia found herself surrounded by delegates wanting to speak with her. Some offered congratulations. Others proposed joint training exercises. A few wanted to discuss potential threats in their regions. Elder Krelix waited patiently until the crowd thinned. Then he approached Patricia with slow, deliberate steps. Walk with me, Counselor. I wish to show you something. They left the main chamber and entered a corridor that led to the observation deck. The view showed space in all directions. Thousands of stars gleamed in the darkness. Ships moved between stations. Trade routes pulsed with activity. When I was young, Krelix said quietly, this galaxy was very different. Species cooperated based on mutual benefit. Alliances formed and dissolved based on shifting political calculations. The strong exploited the weak. The weak suffered in silence. It was orderly, predictable, and ultimately hollow. He gestured at the view before them. You have disrupted that order. You have introduced chaos into our carefully balanced system, and I could not be more pleased. Patricia raised an eyebrow. I did not expect you to approve of chaos, Elder. I don't approve of chaos, Krelix corrected gently. I approve of genuine connection between species. You forced us to remember what it means to care about strangers, to risk ourselves for others, to build something better than what we had. That is not chaos. That is evolution. The Vraxians would disagree, Patricia observed. They think we destabilize their entire expansion strategy. Good, Krelix said firmly. Their expansion strategy was built on our weakness. You eliminated that weakness. Now they must find a new strategy. Hopefully one that does not involve conquering peaceful civilizations. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the stars. Then Krelix spoke again. I have one more question for you, Counselor. A personal question. Ask. Are you afraid? You have taken on enormous responsibility. 1 year after the distress call, Captain Lisa Grant returned to the Centauri homeworld for the anniversary ceremony. She walked through streets she barely recognized. Where ruins once stood, new buildings reached toward the sky. Where fear once ruled, children played without constant worry. The transformation was remarkable. Ambassador Velthar met her at the spaceport. His crystalline form practically glowed with happiness. Captain Grant, welcome back. We have been preparing for this ceremony for months. Your presence means everything to our people. I'm honored to be here, Lisa replied honestly. How are things? See for yourself. Velthar gestured at the bustling city around them. Our economy is growing. Our population is recovering. We have not suffered a single attack in 8 months. The Vraxians honor their agreement because they fear breaking it. They walked through the city center. Centauri citizens stopped to bow respectfully to Lisa. Some approached to thank her directly. One elderly Centauri female pressed a crystal sculpture into Lisa's hands. "For saving my grandchildren," she said simply, tears flowing down her translucent face. Lisa accepted the gift with emotion she did not try to hide. "We just did what anyone should do." "But you were the only ones who did," the elderly Centauri replied. "You were the only ones who came. We will never forget that." The memorial ceremony took place in the largest public square. Thousands of Centauri gathered. Representatives from 24 other species attended. The Galactic Council sent an official delegation. Even some Vraxian observers stood at the back, a development that would have been unthinkable a year ago. Admiral Patricia Hayes gave the keynote address. She stood before the crowd in her dress uniform, looking every bit the hero the galaxy now considered her to be. But when she spoke, her words were humble. 1 year ago, Ambassador Velthar stood before the Galactic Council and asked for help. His people were dying. His worlds were burning. His allies had abandoned him. He had every reason to believe no one would answer his plea. Patricia paused, letting her words sink in. But humanity heard that plea. We heard it and we could not turn away. Some people called us crazy. They said we were too small, too weak, too inexperienced to make a difference. They were wrong. We were exactly what the Centauri needed. Not because we were the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, but because we were willing to try. The crowd listened in absolute silence. Even the Vraxian observers seemed focused on her words. What happened here changed the galaxy in ways we are still discovering. The Centauri learned they could defend themselves. The Council learned that unity has strength. The Vraxians learned that aggression has consequences. And humanity learned that we earned our place among the stars, not through conquest but through service. Patricia gestured to the memorial behind her. It listed names. Human names. Centauri names. Names of those who fell defending this world and others like it. These people gave everything so others could live. That sacrifice created something new. An alliance built not on treaties and political calculations, but on genuine mutual care. That is worth more than any weapon we could build. After the ceremony, Patricia found herself walking alone through the memorial garden. Each flower represented a life lost. Human military personnel, Centauri defenders, even a few volunteers from other species who arrived later to help with reconstruction. Elder Krellis joined her quietly. He moved more easily now thanks to continued human medical assistance. A beautiful memorial. A sad one, but beautiful. Every name here represents someone's child, parent, friend, or lover, Patricia said softly. The cost was high. But the alternative would have cost infinitely more, Krelix replied. If the Centauri had fallen, how many other species would the Vraxians have destroyed? How much suffering would have followed? Your intervention stopped a cascade of tragedy. I hope you're right. I am right. And I have lived long enough to recognize turning points in history. This was one. The galaxy before your arrival and the galaxy after are fundamentally different places. They walked in silence for a while, reading names and remembering sacrifices. Then Krelix spoke again. I have news. The Council voted unanimously this morning. They are creating a new position. The Coordinator of Mutual Defense. Someone to oversee cooperative security arrangements and ensure no species ever faces extinction alone. They want you to take the position. Patricia stopped walking. That's a significant responsibility. You have already been doing the job informally. This would simply make it official. You would have resources, authority, and the backing of the entire Council. You could ensure what happened to the Centauri never happens to anyone else. Can I think about it? Of course. Take your time. The Council will wait for your answer. Krelix smiled in his own way. But I already know what you will say. You will say yes because someone needs help, and you have the ability to provide it. That is simply who you are. Patricia laughed despite herself. You know me too well, Elder. That evening, a celebration filled the city. Music played. Food was shared. Different species mingled freely in ways that would have been unusual before the crisis brought them together. Lisa Grant found herself surrounded by young Centauri military officers, all eager to share stories of their training and experiences. Lieutenant Krenna, Commander Yelshara's protege, stood nearby. Captain Grant, I wanted to thank you personally. When the humans first arrived, I was terrified. I'd never even held a weapon before. Now I command a patrol squadron. You gave me confidence I never knew I had. You always had it, Lisa corrected gently. We just helped you discover it. The strength was always inside you, perhaps, but without human training, that strength would have remained buried. We would have remained victims. Now we are defenders. That gift is beyond price. Across the square, Commander Yelshara spoke with Captain Kyle Rogers. They had become friends during the training programs. Kyle, I have a question. When you first agreed to help us, did you know you would succeed? Or did you simply hope? Kyle considered the question carefully. Honestly, I had no idea if we could win. The odds were terrible. The Vraxians were more numerous and more experienced. But I knew one thing for certain. If we did nothing, you would definitely lose. At least by trying, we gave you a chance. Sometimes a chance is all you need. A chance and the courage to take it, Yelshara added. You gave us both. In a quiet corner of the celebration, Jake Morrison sat with a group of mixed species. Young officers from Earth Centauri Space, the Orion Collective, and Rigel Commonwealth all shared drinks and stories. They had trained together. Some had fought together. All considered each other friends now. A young Orion pilot named Shen spoke up. I never thought I would serve in the military. My species values scholarship and art. But after seeing what happened to the Centauri, after seeing how humans responded, I knew I had to do something. I had to learn to protect what I love. That's exactly right, Jake replied. Military service isn't about loving violence. It's about loving something enough to defend it. That distinction matters. The humans taught us that, added a Centauri officer. They taught us that being a warrior and being civilized are not opposites. They are two parts of the same thing. You need both to build something worth protecting. The celebration continued late into the night. Different species learned each other's songs and dances. They shared food from their homeworlds. They told stories about their cultures and histories. Unity was not just a political concept anymore. It was real and growing stronger every day. The next morning, Admiral Patricia Hayes requested a private meeting with Ambassador Velthar. They met in his office overlooking the rebuilt capital city. I'm accepting the Council's offer, Patricia said without preamble. I'll become the coordinator of mutual defense. Velthar's form brightened with satisfaction. I hoped you would. You are the only person the entire Council trusts to do this job fairly and effectively. I have conditions, Patricia said firmly. First, every species in the Council must contribute to mutual defense. No more free riders. No more species that expect protection but refuse to help others. Second, we establish rapid response teams that can deploy within hours, not days. Third, we create a standing training program so every species maintains combat readiness. And fourth, we build an early warning network that covers all Council space. Those are significant changes to how the Council operates, Velthar observed. They are necessary changes. The Vraxians backed down because we were strong and united. The moment we appear weak or divided, they will test us again. Other threats will emerge. We need to be ready for anything. Velthar nodded slowly. I will support these conditions before the Council. I believe others will as well. We learned a hard lesson about the cost of unpreparedness. Nobody wants to pay that price again. Good. Then I have one more request. A personal one. Name it. I want to establish a scholarship program. The Patricia Hayes Fellowship for Mutual Defense. It will bring young people from across the galaxy to Earth for training and education. Not just military training, but cultural exchange. Understanding each other is as important as defending each other. Velthar's crystalline body glowed with emotion. That is a beautiful idea. The Centauri government will fund the first year of the program. I insist on it.